current UFC lightweight champion, Khabib Nurmagomedov. Pretty much the hot topic now on his phenomenal ability to put pressure down to the highest level guys, especially in the division, and he's able to maintain the pressure and keep them on the floor, and they have the most grueling experience trying to stand up. So in today's video, I'm going to break it down as best I can on how he applies the weight and what are the techniques and mechanics that he's doing. Now bear in mind, this is a guy who's been doing wrestling and grappling for since he was a kid. So what you're watching, I mean, it's easy to sort of reflect and say that it's a strength-based thing. He's just so much more powerful than the rest, or his cardio is insane. Now, I'm not saying that's not part of it. It is. But it's just years and years of focus on one specific niche, which is just wrestling and pressure. And he I will say this, like, he put a lot of time into understanding how to put his body weight down. So let's get right into it. To start things off, the first thing I'm going to say, there's predominantly mainly two positions he likes to do his ground and pound, and how he likes to apply his weight. It's going to be the half guard and the mount. And I'll kind of go into detail because the mount isn't as simple as what you think, right? So the first thing is going to be half guard. And then eventually I'm going to talk about how he incorporates the cage. So half guard, I want you guys to understand the first thing is this. What is his first concept? What's he trying to do? He's trying to limit the ability for his partner to stand up. And that he's even greedy enough to say, I don't even want you to stand up on your elbow. So he tries, if the guy stands up on his elbow, he's trying to beat that too. He doesn't even let this happen. So his main goal, number one, is do not let the guy stand up. So that's his first goal, before ground and pound, before anything else. Why half guard? I'll start with this. Why half guard? Because it's extremely hard for my partner to just get up. Because if he tries to get up, you'll see that if he tries, his foot is stuck because I'm sitting my hips down, which is the first concept of his weight. It's sitting his hips down on his heels. Having done that, the guy just can't get up. It's not impossible, it's extremely hard. Versus if you imagine if I was in side control, where if I were in side control like this, my partner has the ability to turn towards me, turtle up, right? Maybe even run away if he lies back down again. Sometimes he can just book it. Some people do that as well. So by being in the half guard, puts so much control because I've isolated that bottom leg. So now, let's continue with this position. So the next thing is this. So not only is he sitting in that half guard because it limits the mobility of my partner. He can't just get up whenever he wants. Number two, if he's trying to sit his posture, his torso up, he has two frames. He has both his forearms. As he sits up, one on the neck and one on the hip. And all he does is this. He leads with his chest. He leads with his chest, sits back down, and that's what he always, if you'll notice, if you actually watch his tapes, he will always maintain a frame on the neck as he strikes. Now he will switch up, he will for sure switch up, but he would prefer this. Why? Because anytime he sits up, you'll see what happens. He sits up, he runs into it. So as my partner sits up, he frames, uses his torso weight, pushes him back down, in which case now he strikes and he strikes. If my partner tries to get up again, he'll sit down on his legs. If he feels his partner trying to remove that bottom leg out, he'll sit down on it. If he feels him trying to sit up towards him, he'll push him back down. This is his main goal. This is his main priority. He's not actually going just head on, blinders with strikes. His main goal is how can I pin this guy on the floor? First way is keeping that leg on the inside by sitting on it. Number two, anytime he sits up, he frames neck and hip and he uses the chest, pushes him back down, in which case now he throws strikes. So now, like we said, quick review. He sits on the guy's leg to prevent him from getting out, so preventing him from that leg from getting pulled out towards him. He frames on the neck and hip to keep his torso on the floor, not even letting him stand up on his elbow. Now, the next thing is how does he incorporate the fence? Because the fence is the most powerful tool he uses to put everything all together. He will either force his partner there by just kind of somewhat, this is where the part where he kind of muscles it, but he would prefer as the guy sits up, he's going to frame and actually redirect. He's going to kind of smash him into the fence. Now, how he uses the fence is very important. This is now a barrier between me and the fence. He's in between that. He's sandwiched in between both of us, which means what? It limits his ability to move again. His main goal is not to let your partner stand up or even move. He wants to pin him so bad that the guy can't even do anything. So that's why when he incorporates the fence, now as he leans his pressure, he's pushed back against something. Because he's pushed back against something, he has more traction to deal with. So now, if he does the whole thing, he tries to get that leg out, I'm sitting back on it. He tries to get up on his elbow, tries to go base, he pushes him back down. And this is where he throws strikes after strike. And he'll just keep rinsing and repeating this. He doesn't mind being here forever. Like we said, he has the half guard, but he also has the mount. Now, how does he get to mount? Well, typically from what I was watching, he either will start side control and transition into it, Or, as he's doing this, what's going to happen to the guy on the bottom, you have to really understand what's happening to him psychologically. He's getting extremely claustrophobic because he's just not able to do anything. So what happens when you start to get claustrophobic, you kind of throw away technique. You just start to become more reckless. And what happens is my partner, in such a panic to get out, he will abandon his half guard lock. And he'll just completely open up and do just kind of crazy things to stand up. In which case, watch, I'm going to change the angle. What's going to happen is, as he starts panicking and he starts opening up too much, he's going to post either on the mat or on the partner. Right? It doesn't really matter. Typically, if you keep it on the mat, you're going to have a lot more balance within yourself. Because if you just put it on him, he's moving around a lot, you might fall. But post on the mat, and that's when he lifts the leg on the inside and just steps right over into the mount position. So like we said, as he's panicking, as he's doing his thing, he finds that moment that the legs are open. He steps over into mount. Now, like I said, he picks mount, but there's a very unique thing that happens. It seems accidental, but he's doing it on purpose. This is my belief. He does it on purpose. Or rather, maybe he doesn't do it on purpose, he allows it to happen. Giving your partner your ankle. So this is what we call the quarter mount. You'll actually see him be caught in this a lot. Now, does he care? I don't think he cares at all. In fact, I would argue that he prefers this. Why? Same thing as the half guard. Notice how when he commits to this leg, he can't get up anymore. Right? He's done this to himself because he feels this is a win. He's getting somewhere, and he is. But this is where everything else comes in. So notice this. If I'm over here, let's say I'm actually back in mount for a second. What's a common thing for MMA is when the guy is getting beat, he's going to belly down. Right? He's going to belly down, and that's going to he's going to block his face. Now, it's not the best thing for him either. It's not amazing. But the problem is when someone's extremely scrambly and strong, and they start turning belly down, there's a chance he can create something hectic and I might fall or might lose my position. So what does he do? He gives the leg. When he gives the leg, now if he tries to turn or whatever, he can't. He's stuck. His only option for those that have done jiu-jitsu for longer than I would say 6 months or a year, he's going to want to push my leg back into half guard. But he doesn't care because he's back to that same idea again. He throws strikes, he puts that weight down with his torso, the guy tries to get that bottom leg out, he sits back down on it. Over and over and over again. He goes back to mount, turn this up. He goes back to mount, invites the leg, he throws strikes, guy can't move. He can't turtle, he can't run away. The only thing left now is to go back to half guard, and just like that, he goes back to half guard, back to that same game. He sits back, he has his frames, he throws strikes. My partner sits up, he pushes him back down, throws some more strikes. If he wants to, as the guy sits up, forces him into the fence, putting down obstruction between both of them. So he's stuck in the middle between the wall and me. Now giving more traction, making it hard for him to get up. Through panic. He's going to panic, he steps over, invites the leg. They always take it. Here is where he prevents the guy from getting back to half guard. And you'll actually see this all the time. When his partner sits up on his elbow, he's going to sit back comfortably first. Number one, he sits back. Because remember this, although his hips, I'm sure, are heavy, the main pressure comes from his chest. The torso is doing a lot of the work. He's pushing his toes on the ground. From the ground, it channels to his glute. From the glute, channels to the chest. It's really all torso when it's actually putting his pressure down. So now watch. He lowers for balance, because if I'm too overcompensated, this doesn't feel right. As he sits back, watch, passes the hand, weaves it through. This is what we call, so in jiu-jitsu we call this the motorcycle grip. I'm going to change angles so you guys can see it. So watch as my hand from the back comes in and I grab his wrist with what we call monkey grip. So monkey grip is when you remove your thumb, but you can do what we call also C-clamp. You can involve your thumb as well. Right? So you can grab this way or this way. It doesn't really matter. He weaves in, and he just pulls the elbow back to the floor. Now, notice this. Let's reverse the angle. Pay attention. Look at his arm. If he tries to get his arm out this way, he's stuck. He's completely stuck. The only thing he can do is try to sit up on his elbow again. If he sits up on his elbow, what does he do? He just pulls it back under. As he pulls it back under, watch. Lower the hip, drive with the torso. Look how my torso drives into him. I'm actually pushing my chest. Now here's where it gets really bad. This is where he starts throwing all the strikes. He'll take his time, but it doesn't really matter. As the guy sits up on his elbow, doesn't matter. He'll pull it right back down, over and over and over again. Notice again, the pressure is coming from the chest, right? If I just make my hips super heavy, but I put nothing, he can just sit up, right? This isn't what I want. So what he actually does is pulls the wrist down, loads up, and then drives into him. It's a lot of chest, and now he throws strikes, now he throws strikes. So that's the best way I can make his complex game simple, because believe me, there was a lot of time he put into that, years and years of work. It looks very easy, but anything that looks that easy, I'm telling you, there was decades worth of work. But I'm going to show a bonus move with his game. There's one thing he also does that people really are like, what is going on? Why can't they move? And I'm going to show it today. So we call the lock of doom. So it's typically when he shoots a double or any sort of takedown, and the guy ends up back against the fence, but with his legs still sort of here. And what's happening normally in an MMA case, my partner's going to start building base by getting his legs underneath them, go up against the cage, and then he stands up. What he does to keep him on the floor while still being able to punch them. So all he does is, number one, he drives pressure. Again, torso, it's a lot of torso pressure. He takes his leg, goes over, and the key is to go above the knees. Goes above the knees, and then he locks a triangle. I'm going to reverse the angle so you guys can see. So if you reverse, so watch. He'll go around the knees, or rather above the knees, and he'll lock a triangle, or what we call a figure four. And then finally, he'll squeeze together. Now, just by doing this, if he tries to move his legs around, he's completely stuck, right? And that's when now, if he wants to, he'll weave through, he'll pull my partner down, throw strikes, or what he would actually prefer is to finally just use that to step into full mount. So now let's put it against the cage again. His pressure comes from the torso, driving with his feet, through his butt, through his chest. Uses his hands, he might actually use it to combine the knees together. Steps over and locks, figure four or triangle. And now this is where it gets bad, because now he'll just throw strikes. And then naturally they're going to frame. When they frame, their elbows go down, he weaves through, he pulls. Throw strikes, throw strikes. He might even eventually decide I'll go mount. It doesn't actually matter what he does, it's whatever he wants. Because he's just going to rinse and repeat, half guard, mount, or rather quarter mount. Half guard, quarter mount, back and forth, back and forth. That's it for the video. If you guys really enjoyed it, like, share, or subscribe to our channel to get more updates on when we upload new videos. Hit the bell icon to be notified on our next upload.